Here to do the Hindu newspaper vocabulary, okay,
Yes.
of the heading. So I'm adjusting the screen and here's the newspaper for you. Okay, today's edition, Delhi edition, April the 5th. और इसमें से हम लोग करेंगे थोड़े डिफिकल्ट वर्ड्स हेडलाइन से. ठीक है. तो पाकिस्तान सुप्रीम कोर्ट प्रॉमिसेस अ रीजनेबल ऑर्डर. इसमें कुछ खास नहीं है. ऑपोजिशन रिजेक्ट्स गोटाबाया ऑफर्स. रिजेक्ट किया, ऑफर था, दैट्स ऑल. गोइंग थ्रू एस High Court dismisses plea against Tewell. SC request city to get summer action plan against pollution. You know everything in this one. Hope coming down, 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 down. Fourth FIR and SC High Court quashes LOC against scribe. Now tell me what this is. Lookout circular LOC quashes lookout circular against the scribe. Scribe is a person who write something. Okay. So quashes, what do you mean by word quashes?
Quashes tells that LOC is against the scribe.
Tells the lookout circular issued against scribe. High Court tell lookout circular. Circular is a document.
Oh, it's a document.
Yes. What you will do with the document? The document is right, document is wrong, document is not valid, document is old, document is
the document is we write on it and we tear it.
So
sometimes when it's old.
Maybe yeah, sometimes when it's old. So quashes, let's see what it is. Sorry, quashes. Not squash. QUASHES. Not coming. So okay, we'll go to the other two websites. Steno.
Quashes.
And this one. Let's see with English first. English help us to go with pronunciation, the meaning, the uses. Multiple uses.
Because nothing quite quashes your reproductive chances like being dead. But almost all energy on Earth starts with plant.
I need to see evidence. Where's the
Okay,
evidence?
just throw it in the trash.
Wait.
What was that?
No, that was too much.
Yes.
Just this was good. Reduce the voice speed. Now let's see.
I need to see evidence. Where's the
Okay,
evidence?
just throw it in the trash.
And if he throws it in the trash or quashes the muller,
Trash, you know? What?
Trash is a dustbin.
Yeah. And quashes, as I said, tear or something that is of no use. Why it's not coming? Come fast. Let's see the
investigation, then yes, impeachment should be on the table.
Only two.
Only two.
Obviously,
Put an end to.
Okay.
Okay. So here, put an end to the circular against scribe. That is clear that we said. Okay.
Okay.
So put an end to quashes.
because nothing quite quashes your reproductive chances
I'll
like
just say
being dead.
quash now. Let's see.
Okay.
There are more with quash.
Over time. So if you plug in Susanna Avery Quash YouTube videos,
What happened again could be used by the police to quash the
Put an end to the unrest before it. Okay. Now let's say this one. Yeah.
What happened again could be used
Could
by
be
the
used
police
for the
to
police
quash the
to
unrest
quash the
before it really got
unrest
out of
really.
control. What happened again
Could be used by the police to quash the unrest before it.
Be done in the West Bank and in Gaza and throughout the region to quash
The level of vitriol that appears.
thereby hoping to
Hoping
quash
to
any
quash
future representation.
Quash, put an end to any future representation. So quash, put an end to. Important note. Oh, it's not putting an end to. Nothing and tenor as such. Okay, nothing. So that's done. Let's see another word. Supreme Court rejects artistic plea. Plea is request. on government accommodation. What do you mean by accommodation?
Government accommodation. And
Supreme Court rejects. You know that?
yes.
Artist plea. Plea is again a request on government accommodation.
Or government saying.
Not saying. It's a noun.
Okay, now. Then it should be a place, accommodation.
Yes. It's government houses.
Okay. It's
Okay.
government houses.
Accommodation is
Government's houses.
houses where you live. That is called accommodation.
Okay.
Okay. The act of providing something, the immediate need, living quarters provided for public convenience. The government house is a settlement, a house, making or becoming suitable, adjusting circumstances. So here we go with the accommodation. Let's see what we do have.
A house.
And house. And house.
In the
A
first
house.
place only we had a house.
Yes, the government accommodation. And now let's pronounce it with English and see the uses.
Temporary accommodation, it's not really a good thing, I would say, because
Yeah. See?
temporary accommodation, it's not really a good thing, I would say.
At St. Cross, you can choose to stay in accommodation on site, but also
Science Park to include teaching and research facilities as well as student accommodation.
Student houses. Okay, that is government accommodation in the news. This is the student accommodation.
Science Park to include teaching and research facilities as well as student accommodation.
Who volunteer to live in the accommodation. Okay?
Volunteer to live in a house.
Yes. Who volunteer to living in a house. The provision of room or lodging is accommodation. Done with this one. Next, going down. CPI plans to rebuild party nationally. Nothing's there. Jagan inaugurates 13 new districts of Andhra Pradesh. Okay. So inaugurates. Jagan is the chief minister of Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh, you know the state. 13 new districts. So inaugurates. What do you mean by inaugurates?
So divides Andhra Pradesh into 13 new districts?
No. Inaugurates.
Inaugurates.
People are there, they are holding book. Yes, inaugurates. Make means launch. Inaugurate means launch. Introduce, new. So he is introducing it.
Okay. It's not actually making.
Yes, it was actual making, but introducing. 13 inaugurates. New house, new shop. So you inaugurate it.
We launch it.
You launch it. So be a precursor of commence officially. There will be, so you say, yeah, now we are going to live into this house. Grih pravesh after that. Similarly for the shop. Open ceremoniously or dedicate formally. You open it. Okay, so this is inaugurate. Let's see with
Science Park to include teaching and research.
Thank you. Inaugurate. Now something when you open it. Inaugurate.
She opened online classes.
Yes. Anything more? Nothing over here.
He opened the pot of honey.
Inaugurates. English. Let's see.
Inaugurate.
Admit someone formally to public office. Begin or introduce. So 13 new district.
He's introducing.
Introducing ceremoniously. Okay. So this is. And there we go with the.
And so, all of this inaugurates basically.
You see?
And so all of this inaugurates basically this new.
Well, anyway, this
Reconstruction
The
Act
Reconstruction Act
of
of
1867
1867
inaugurates the
the
period we call radical reconstruction.
Reconstruction.
This opens
This inaugurates the
the
final
final conflict with
with
these
these
leaders.
It's been going on since the beginning.
Hebrews 1, when Jesus is raised from the dead, God the Father inaugurates him as Lord of the church.
And the Old Testament
And inaugurates the new
covenant
convenient
and the New Testament.
And of course, it's a privilege because
because
the
it even
event
inaugurates
my tenure as
opens the unit. Okay, so this is the inaugurates done. Next is ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, wants Odisha government to tweak beautification plan. Beautification is when you make things beauty, when you beautify the thing. So tweak beautification plan around the Jagannath temple. Okay, so what do you mean by word tweak?
They want Odisha government to launch a beautiful.
That would have been, but it's already launched.
Okay, it's already launched. A beautiful Jagannath temple. To make it?
It's already done. The government is already now planning.
Okay. Then
Tweak is to change. Now it has been planned, but Archaeological Survey of India wants it to change it a bit. Tweak is to
change it a bit.
change it a bit. Okay, let's see it here. Tweak. To squeeze the fingers, that is another thing. Tweak. Adjust finally, or pull up or sharply. Pinch or squeeze sharply. So pinch or squeeze is not going to pull up or sharply is also not going to be adjusted to make it a bit changed there into the plan. Tweak. Squeeze. Too much pressure. Oh my god, I need coffee. Yeah, I'm coming over. Better not be tweaking. So nothing as such. Tweak.
Experience. Do we get to tweak and upgrade subjectivity? Because that's what you're talking about. Experience. Do we get to tweak and upgrade?
Improve by making fine adjustment to it. Okay, so what Archaeological Survey of India wants is to improve by making some fine adjustment to the beautification plan around Jagannath temple. Improve by making fine adjustments to it. Okay, charger is there. Yeah, it's there. So that is a tweak. And let's go to this one again.
Subject
as ourselves. How to tweak the novel levers of consciousness towards
now that is
useful.
tweak, is a squeeze. Okay?
As ourselves.
Tweak
How
the
to tweak
knobs
the
and the
knobs and
levers
levers of consciousness towards you.
I just had to figure out how to tweak things to fit the unique conditions.
Tweak things, okay?
Squeeze.
No, make adjustment.
I just had to figure out how to tweak things to fit the unique condition.
And I'm hoping that if you sort of learn to tweak this a little bit, it could
I'm hoping that if you learn to tweak this a little bit,
it could significantly change the way your life unfolds.
Means if you adjust it in a significant way, it's going to change your life. Okay? So this is what saying. Now it's your turn.
And I'm hoping that if you sort of learn to tweak this a little bit, it could significantly change the way your life unfolds. And I'm hoping that if you sort of learn to tweak this a little bit, it could significantly change the way your life unfolds.
App developers could also tweak their apps to run in a way that doesn't rely on Google service.
Okay? So that is about the tweak. Coming down, we have tampering with the constitution in Pakistan. Now what this word tampering means?
Getting angry.
You can get angry with the constitution. Constitution is noun. And with the noun, what you
Place.
do? With the noun, you're doing something.
We do action.
You do action, yes. With the noun, you do action. So, what is the action with the constitution you're going to do? You're going to play with the constitution. You're going to change the constitution. You're going to add things to the constitution.
We can add things to the.
Yes, he is tempering. Tempering means changing, altering, not in a good sense. Okay. So modifying it, but not in a good sense. Not even modifying. Tempering means उसके साथ खेलना, playing with the constitution. Okay, so that is tempering. Let's see with the word map, a beautiful application available on Windows. The act of altering something secretly or improperly, not properly, okay, improperly. So that is tempering. Let's see with tenor, secretly.
What would it tempering?
Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan on 3rd of April. Okay,
Yes,
he went against the constitution. Tempering. Okay, it's rigged. Tempering. You are changing it. Yes, you're changing it. Rigged. It's tempered. He's ball tempering. He's tempering the ball. He's making another part shine it a bit so that it swings more. So tempering is rigged. Okay. Now let's come here. Tempering. Exert a secret of corrupt influence on. Corrupt influence upon. It's a verb, not a good action. Isn't it? It's a verb, but it's not a good action. We are tampering with reliability as well.
We are tampering with reliability as well. Reliability.
It did not feed any sense in the public, that
somehow
tampering had taken place with the actual process of voting.
That I just mentioned, the scientific cleansing, political tampering, irregularities in research.
So that was political tampering of the constitution, okay?
See as Prime Minister and accusing him of rigging elections. And even though there is some truth to all of their claims, those aren't the only elements you should be aware.
Again, the elections being tempered.
Or tampering
with the humanist idol. You are altering, you are modifying, but not in a good
As a result of the 1880 election,
due to some vote tampering and fraud. Once again, this one.
In the South, and the tampering with federal property threw a whole new element into the question of slavery. And in fact,
okay, so this is there with the tampering. I hope it's done. Now moving next. Read over here. Caste hierarchies and migration patterns. Now, what do you mean by hierarchies?
Hierarchies is a big word.
Yes.
Caste hierarchies and migration patterns.
And migration also. Do you know the meaning of migration?
Yeah, migration, I know one is the birds migration.
Yes, it's the same migration. Moving.
Yes, moving from one place to another.
Yeah, hierarchies.
Hierarchies. Kya caste hierarchies?
Hierarchy is a chain, the way it goes down. My grandfather, my father, myself, and then you. So it's a hierarchy, the way things goes into, okay? So we'll just see hierarchy over here in word map.
It's related to family.
Yeah, family, a tree, a family, yes, exactly. It's almost related to, not a family, that, but the way it goes, hierarchy. Hierarchy. The organization of people at different ranks. Okay? People who are organized, my grandfather, my father, all are organized in different ranks. A series of order grouping of people or things within a system. So
it's
this
not
is
only with the family.
Not even with the family. It's the ordering of the things. Hierarchies. Hierarchy. This is hierarchy. When the things are structured, okay, down. It's a hierarchy. Hierarchy. Genes. Okay. Anything more on hierarchy? In this one, we don't have anything more on the hierarchy. Okay, let's see hierarchies here. We have 1200.
An interpreter.
Here we see it's the upper echelon arrangement or classification of things. A system or organization which people or group one is ranked above the other. That arrangement or classification of things. So in this case, caste hierarchies, caste arrangement, caste classification, this caste, that caste, X and Y, and migration patterns, and the people moving out. Okay, so that is being talked about. Caste hierarchies, segregation, distinction, and the people moving out. So caste hierarchies, over arrangement of a thing, I'll see from this one.
An interpreter for the kind of
about
rankings and hierarchies. I'm wondering. It's about rankings and hierarchies. It's about rankings and hierarchies.
He sees the world.
Eden. How he sees the world and his hierarchies and his Eden. How he sees the world and his hierarchies. How he sees the world and his hierarchies.
A lot of management hierarchies.
A lot of management hierarchies fall into.
Number one, networks.
Number one.
Networks.
Networks will replace hierarchies.
Hierarchies.
Number one.
Networks will replace.
Networks will replace hierarchies.
Okay. It's just simply relying
challenge
on
of reducing regulation. Instead of simply relying on government hierarchies to decide which regulations should be.
Okay, so this is about the hierarchies. Next is the migration is moving. And we will see its better uses. Migration in tenor, you're not giving me the proper ones today. Migration, see the penguins migrating, okay?
Yes.
Migrating, great migration of God. The birds are migrating, even he is migrating. Migration.
Migration has and continues to touch all nations, cultures, and regions. Migration has and continues to touch all nations, cultures. Migration has and continues to touch all nations, cultures.
And finally, we
discuss the global migration crisis.
And finally, we discuss the global migration crisis. And finally, we discuss the global migration crisis.
Migration
to another planet. At least where?
At least when I listen to you.
And according to
the Center for Migration Studies.
Other birds have been shown to catch Z's in mid-air migration.
Okay, so that is all about migration. Coming down, we have Jammu and Kashmir delimitation panel. Starts talks, faces protest in Jammu. Delimitation panel. It's an adjective because talking about panel. So Jammu and Kashmir delimitation panel.
Good panel.
Even I also don't know. Let's see what delimitation means. Come on, word map. Help me out with delimitation. A line that indicates a boundary.
Okay, that's delimitation.
Okay, border line.
We can say border and
borderline. So what's being talked about is Jammu and Kashmir borderline panel, the panel who is going to demarcate the borderline in the Jammu and Kashmir, starts talks and faces protest in Jammu. Okay, so that is delimitation. Let's see, tenor, what delimitation has to say. Graphs, no such borderline. No such borderlines, nothing.
That one is just having some borders.
Yeah. Now let's see in English, delimitation. Am I written the word properly? Delimitation. I need to pronounce it also properly. Shit. Nothing. Still nothing. Delimitation. Delimitation.
Memorandum of understanding.
Delimitation.
It's delimitation.
Boundary line. A line that indicates the boundary. Delimitation. Determine the essential quality of boundary delimitation or simply delimitation is a term used to describe the drawing of boundaries. Okay? You need to draw the boundaries
regarding the delimitation of maritime zones between memorandum of understanding.
So we've got actually an accent.
So we've got actually an accent delimitation.
Delimitation.
Going on. So
we've got
actually an accent delimitation.
Accent delimitation there.
So we've got actually an accent delimitation.
Going on.
Delimitation of it and getting the right.
Delimitation of it and getting the right, rubbish in, rubbish out. Actually,
where's there?
With the modern materials with the just delamination of various layers. This gets around with the modern materials with the just delamination of various layers. Or with the modern.
For example, can do species delimitation, like trying to work. For example, can do species delimitation, like trying to work.
That the appeal to the author is a kind of delimitation or policing of the possibilities of meaning.
Got it? So that is clear with the delimitation borderline. Going down, we have probe.
Probe. CVI again to investigate.
Plea on SC on gender bias in Hindu inheritance law. Not a me. There's a plea, it's a request in Supreme Court on gender bias. Gender is male-female bias in Hindu inheritance law. So in Hindu's law, what do you mean by this gender bias?
The gender record.
Not the gender record. When you bias, when you discriminate. Okay?
Discriminate.
Yes, when you bias, you discriminate. Bias. Partially that prevent objective consideration, a line or cut into a fabric that is not at right angles. Okay, got to be biased. Influence in unaware means slanting diagonally across a grain of fabric. That is also influence in unfair way. Yes, a gender bias. Now here we are going to see from English bias. Hope I'm pronouncing it right. Concentration on or interest in a particular area or subject. A systematic distortion of a statistical result, such a lawn bowling. So systematic distortion. Interest, a concentration or interest in one particular area or subject. Gender bias. I think this one was gender bias, when you are biased, when you are towards one of it. A concentration of, when I am saying this is right or this is wrong, which is true, give me your honest opinion.
Okay.
Then I say, no, this is right, because I am favoring this one. Okay, so when you are favoring this one, when you are favoring and it's not an honest review, you are biased towards something, you want it to be executed, the other thing should not be. So that is bias.
Okay.
Where your concentration on interest, you have an interest on one particular area of subject and you ignore the other. So that is bias. You have to be honest, you have to be fair in both of things, but you are more tend toward other things. You tend towards the other thing.
The other option.
Such as pollution. Yeah. Reduce the bias to
BIAS. bias is, come on, me bias, he's biased to, when you, out of two things you have to choose and then you tended to favor one of them. When I say I love Shreya and I love you, and then I protect Shreya more, then you'll say you're biased towards Shreya, Papa. Okay, so that is bias. Now let's see, nothing more is coming in here. Let's
externalities such as pollution.
reduce the bias.
But you know who approaches life without bias? But you know who approaches life without bias? But you know who approaches life without bias?
Okay, without that.
Divorce, bias in the legal system, cultural stigma, or community
This long-standing bias against fathers still occurs. This long-standing bias against fathers still occurs.
Moment I began to engage in what you would call confirmation bias. I began to look at all of the signs and comments.
Okay, so this is bias. Now, next one. Now it's UGC facing plagiarism charge. Now this plagiarism is.
Looking at the word, I have no idea.
Okay. Plagiarism, when you are copying something, a content without the proper authority, without the proper right. The act of taking someone's words or ideas as if
It was yours.
they're your own piece of writing that has been copied. Okay, so that is plagiarism. Understood?
Plagiarism.
Yes. Tough word, big word. You say it's mine. You're accused of plagiarism. Plagiarism, it's very similar. So you say it's mine, though it's someone's else. Now what happened to this one? Practice of taking someone else's work.
For ideas.
Okay, and passing them as your own.
That would be a bad thing to do.
Yes, it's even legally bad to do. Legally, you are not supposed to. Else work and you can use this. Okay, name them. Tell that yeah, it's theirs, and then
Lloyd newspaper published an article accusing Marsh of plagiarism, fraud.
Just the word plagiarism sounds like a crime. Racism.
Just the word.
Just the word plagiarism sounds like a crime. Racism.
Not plagiarism,
Sexism.
but plagiarism.
Plagiarism is the most common form of cheating that gets caught. Plagiarism is the most common form of cheating that gets caught. It's not the most. Plagiarism is the most common form of cheating that gets caught. It's not the most.
And again, I don't consider this to be plagiarism because before and after. And again, I don't consider this to be plagiarism.
But how
the entire concept of plagiarism is a farce.
Okay, so that is plagiarism. Now it's UGC facing plagiarism charge. UGC is facing the charge of copying some content and telling it's my own. UGC University Grant Commission. Okay, a body, India. Now IPCC report may spell death knell for coal-based units. Now what do you mean by knell?
Knell.
Yes.
Death knell. It's knell mostly.
Death done. Ring is announcing death. Final. Death knell. Make ring. Often to propose a musical edification. The sound of bell rung slowly. घंटी बज गई, चलो छुट्टी हो गई. Okay. Death knell मतलब death आ रही है, खत्म कहानी. घंटी बज गई, छुट्टी हो गई. So that is what we have, death knell.
Oh, we also have knell in our school.
Death knell. Let's see what English has to talk about. The sound of bell when rung for a death of a funeral. Okay, ring solemnly at death of a funeral. तो कहने का मतलब अब घंटी बज गई, अब हमें भी खत्म करना है, टाइम हो गया है. Okay, so that's it. This is the last verse. So
any final deal that the CCP would sign would be a death knell for the US. They're not going to sign.
Right.
That's a death knell for democracy.
That's a death knell for democracy. And
That's a
people-
death knell, final, done.
Big
That's
death
it.
knell
A
happening
big death knell.
in
Knell is Ganti Bajgan funeral and death knell is
Nakamoto, I don't think it's going to be
a death knell.
Nakamoto, I don't think it's going to be Nakamoto, I don't think it's going to be
Death knell.
death knell problem.
Be a
Now,
death
to
knell.
be a death knell for the company, it absorbed it, it was able to do so without any.
So that is it. Final, over, done, bye. So we have the words of today. They are quashes,
Quashes. Quashes was to tear it.
nullify it. It's no longer accommodation.
Accommodation. Accommodation is to
House.
yes, house.
Inaugurates
Inaugurates is to
your new laptop. Let us
inaugurates.
open it.
Yeah, open it.
Tweak.
Tweak is to. Tweak is to. Tweak.
Tweak the Jagannath temple
Yeah, the
beautification plan.
Yeah, they tweak. To change it a bit.
for tempering.
Tempering is the
Imran Khan tempering the constitution.
doing not the right thing with the constitution.
Yes, playing with hierarchies.
Hierarchies is the I know this one. It's like in a family. It's a chain.
Chain organization.
Yes.
Migration. You know, delimitation.
Delimitation.
We put a limit to delimitation of between Jammu and Kashmir and
There's a border.
borderline. Bias.
Bias.
When you tend to love someone more,
And the other
less. Plagiarism. Plagiarism.
Plagiarism. Plagiarism is that we did right now. It was
Copycat and telling it's
mine.
mine.
And
Knell.
Knell is that.
Dun dun dun. Ghanti baji. Bye bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. So that is all for the day. Bye.
Bye.
Let's sound Knell. Done.